Well, and this is where you start prepping for your actual sales presentation. Librarians want to know what you're going to do to create demand. Please keep in mind that when you pick up the phone or send that email, you are no longer the author, if you ever were. You're taking your author hat off and you're now the publisher. And so you have to be ready to tell them what you're going to do to create demand. The librarian's job, they get judged by how fast and how often books are taken out, returned, and then taken out again. It's called a turn rate. So what are you going to do to create demand? Are you going to take out any ads in their area? Are you going to go after reviews? And I don't mean 3 reviews on Amazon. I mean dozens and dozens and dozens of reviews on bloggers and discussion sites. Are you going to offer free books and materials for their reading hour? If you've written a children's book or a novel and they have a book club there or a reading hour there, perhaps you can offer a discussion group. Perhaps if it's a children's book, you can offer coloring pages or a word jumble and a copy of a free book so the librarian can read it to the kids that come every Tuesday at 11 for reading hour. Are you willing to offer a virtual book club event via Skype or the internet? What are you going to do to create some demand? The keys are reviews, and it does not hurt to place some advertising. And in the next module, we're actually going to be talking more about that, how to drive demand into the library so the librarians want to recommend your book to other librarians.
And so, and by the way, this is like marketing, right? This is the actual marketing of your book. Go figure. and
Yes.
and the other thing I want to make sure that folks understand is that this type of marketing, although we are primarily talking about selling to libraries in this training, it's not just about the libraries, because this sort of marketing can also benefit you in selling your books to and through other outlets as well. So it's sort of a compounding effect. It's very synergistic in that you can use the same sort of advertising not just to to drive demand to the local libraries, but also to places like Amazon, like Barnes and Noble, etc. Correct?
That is absolutely correct. And then to bring it yet one more bizarre level deeper, once the book is in a few libraries and people are checking it out and reading it because you convinced the librarian that you were going to be creating demand, those readers are going to recommend, if they like it, those readers are going to recommend their books to people, and those people will go and buy the books from Amazon, will buy the books from bookstores. So you actually being in a library will help your book sales at the end of the day. I have had hundreds upon hundreds of clients over the years, and it always works this way. It has been my experience that if you get a nice, strong library presence, it positively affects your sales in the retail market as well, because nothing sells a book like a book.
Wow, that's very, very powerful. And the other cool thing about this, of course, is it's sort of like it's like an implied endorsement. Essentially, if it's good enough to be in the library, well, it's good enough to be in the home library, right? That's sort of what you're saying.
That is exactly not only what I'm saying, but what people think. Just like if you have the properly designed cover, it's an endorsement like, oh, well, if it's good enough to have this cover that looks just like a HarperCollins cover, it belongs on the shelf next to a HarperCollins book. The same thing is true. If your book is next to a HarperCollins book on the library shelf, it belongs in their pocket when they go to check out at Amazon.
Okay, Amy. And so that actually dovetails very nicely into what we have prepared for folks in handout number 1.
Yes, this is a crash course in market research. I actually spend dozens of hours with my clients, and it's quite a deal, I have to tell you, because these questions and this research, this is something that we spend a lot of time doing, and those of you who are listening to this module, you're going to get all this just for part of what we're offering here. This handout's asking a number of questions that I would love to quickly go through with you now, but they have been phrased in a way that you're going to be able to do this research on your own, and it's a terrific tool to have at your fingertips before you make that first call.
Okay, cool. And I pulled up the handout here, so this is going to be available in the members area for folks. But let's talk about it.
Well, it's very tempting when someone says, who's going to read your book, to say everyone. That's not true. Pick one. Pick an age. pick a gender. Yes, it's true that men will also read your romance novel, but most of them are going to be women. And if your book really is 50-50, then say that. But be aware that it's going to be 50-50. Pay attention. Go online. Google what other books in your area are doing. You can find this information out. How much education do they have? Do they live in the city? Do they live in the suburbs? Do they live out in the country? What sort of income do they have? If you've written a one-pot cooking book and you're very, very fixated on country cooking and one-pot slow cooker, perhaps what you're dealing with is a little more suburban, a little more rural, slightly lower income. Maybe their family situations, they have more kids. So what say you don't pick up the phone and start calling Central Chicago right near the university where a whole bunch of single hipsters are living? This is important stuff to know so you know where to focus your energy next. Will these people, once you know who they are, will they actually read your book, or do they just want to get the gist of it, article or interview? If you've written a cookbook, are libraries actually stocking cookbooks, or have they figured out that most people are going online and downloading free apps? Are people going to websites? Are the places where your readers are going, the places where books are actually being checked out? And once you discover whether or not they're actually reading the books, ask yourself, do they have time? Is this a 600-page novel about Thomas Cromwell? If you've decided that these are all, single mothers of 11 children, maybe they don't have the time to read your book. Maybe they don't have the money. Pay attention to whether or not the prospective library patron that you've identified actually goes out and gets books by unknown authors or publishers. Ask your local librarian, do they see a lot of novels being checked out by unknown authors or first-time publishers? If the answer is no, what are you doing to make sure that your book looks exactly like the books that have been put out by authors who have published a dozen books or more? Are other books on your topic selling? If you've written a wonderful, heartwarming memoir about your dachshund, are there other books out there that are being checked out in the library market or that are selling on Amazon in the Marley and Me sort of world? Pay attention to what's actually selling and what's actually being checked out. It's simply a matter of just walking to your local library and getting to know one of the librarians and asking them. You can also check online through worldcat.org, which we're going to cover at length in the next module. How will these people, once you know whether or not they have kids and whether or not they went to college, how are they going to hear about your book? So here's just a yes or no question. Is your marketing plan done? Yes or no? If the answer is no, you're in luck, because our next module, we're going to cover your marketing plan and what you need to provide. This is another added benefit that we're giving you today, an actual checklist that will allow you to create an entire marketing plan from scratch. How do readers hear about other books that they check out? My mom's an avid library patron. How does she hear about other books? 9 times out of 10, a friend of hers recommends the book. Most of my mother's choices come as recommendations from her friends. But other people, they rely on reviewers. Other people read the New York Times, or they love the top 50 list from USA Today, the newspaper. How do your readers hear about books they check out? And here's a little secret from me to you. Daniel, if I had a nickel for every person who believed what they thought, I have so many clients who guess at these questions. They think they know because they think they can figure it out. What you have to do is ask. You have to get online. You have to go to the libraries. You need to get the real data. Please do not assume that because you think you know the answer that that's right. Back up what you are assuming with actual facts. Go ask the library staff out there and get online and start reading some of the data that's out there. Another thing to ask yourself, what makes your book different from the ones already on the shelf or that are working now? I love recipes. I love cookbooks. I will go to a library and check out a cookbook on one-pot meals, but what if there's already 19 on the shelf? Why do they need yours? What is different about yours. And please don't say it's better. We need more answers than that. We need to know, is it more up to date? Is it priced better for the library market? Do they need a few more books like this and yours is priced better than the competition? Is your book easier to read? Does it have better ingredients for their marketplace? Are you offering more advertising than the competition? Keep in mind what makes your book as good, if not better, than the competition out there, and then you will have that on the tips of your fingers when the librarians are about to say no. And the last thing I'd like you to pay attention to on this particular handout is, where will your books make the most sense to be found? If you've written a heartwarming memoir about your dachshund that is also a just touching story about how you adopted your 4-year-old, it has to be in one of the 3 sections. It's either going to be in self-help, or it's going to be in family books about adoption, or it's going to be a pet memoir. Those are 3 different, very different sections in the library. You can only pick one. Your book cannot be in 3 sections. It can't be coded in 3 sections. We're going to talk about a catalog and publication block in a minute. We're going to talk about BISAC codes in just a moment. Your book will be coded in the library system under one category. Pay attention to where your readers are browsing and make that the category. Don't let your desire for what you think your topic is choose the category. The category should be chosen by where are your readers going to be looking for it. And that is the crash course in market research that usually takes many, many hours. And I hope that you guys find this useful. I hope you spend a lot of time looking for the data and not just paying attention to what you think the answers are.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, and this is very, very, very important. In again, in marketing in general, is to know the answers to these questions, because it helps you better know where to put your resources in preparing, not just your money resources, but your time and effort resources as well. So excellent. Thank you for that, Amy. And